tutorial, but also a video that can bring you all some value. Maybe adjust my white balance ever so slightly. I kind of like it there. Okay, cool. All right. Anyways, YouTube friends, what's going on? David Lee Black, brand new video. Today we are talking about Tiffen Glimmerglass lens diffusion. Now, why on earth would you want to use lens diffusion, right? Why would you want to put a piece of glass in front of your actual lens? Some people hate doing that because of it kind of ruins the image, right? You're kind of shooting from a piece of glass into another piece of glass, and you might see like reflections or artifacts or some weird stuff happening, right? Same thing with ND filters, right? Some people love solid ND filters. Some people stand by variable ND filters. And the same thing goes with lens diffusion, right? Tiffen Glimmerglass, Black Satin, Pro Mist, similar pieces of diffusion glass that you want to use to suppress highlights, to bloom highlights, to sort of soften the image, raise contrast, and also help out with skin tones. You might be thinking to yourself, I could probably use Glimmerglass, right? Or I could probably use Pro Mist, something to give my images a little something, right? A little bit of uniqueness that can help your images, that can help your footage stand out from the rest, and also give you the look that you want, right? Specifically, more of a look that comes from film cameras or from certain sensors of higher end cameras. And that's a problem today, right? Is cameras like our GH5s, our A7 IIIs, our Blackmagic cameras, right? All of them, even Reds. And even to a certain extent, ARRI cameras, right? The sensors themselves can sometimes be too not digital, but too sharp, right? And compared to older film cameras, right? The only thing that really made the difference with film cameras is like the stock you use and also the lenses you use, right? Because some lenses are sharper than others. So lens diffusion helps us take our digital cameras, which are sharp. It helps us to take our lenses, which, you know, for the most part can be too sharp. It kind of brings that sharpness down to more of a pleasing image that I like, right? And I use all kinds of filters, from variable ND filters, like I mentioned before. Oh, it's too dark. Variable ND filters, right? We also have black satin filters, which I have made a video on before. You can check that out in the iCard right above my head. But you know, we have black satin. I actually have black satin in front of my lens right now, but we have like black satin filters, so you can probably see some like way more bloomage happening. And then today we have black Glimmerglass. So this is also made from Tiffen. I have a 4x565 filter of the black Glimmerglass, right? And you know, so the reason why I chose black Glimmerglass was I was watching a short film from Ryan Booth, one of my favorite directors, former director of photography. Now he directs Nike commercials and stuff like that, right? But he had this short film 2 years ago called The Heights, and on The Heights, I think they shot on the area mirror. And they also used Glimmerglass, right? So even at that time, Glimmerglass wasn't like new. It had been around for a couple of years, but a lot of people, a lot of DPs and cinematographers were mostly using Pro Mist or other kinds of like Hollywood black magic filters, right? Basically all do the same thing, right? They soften the image, they raise the contrast, they bloom out our highlights to a certain extent, and they create sort of a organic, right? They create this like organic look on people's faces and skin tones. So I chose to use black Glimmerglass because I saw how it looked on The Heights, and I was like, damn, that is some pretty nice looking footage. And obviously it was shot in a freaking Amira and Cook Speed paint grows, right? Which probably make up most of the image, but Glimmerglass just adds a little bit of something, right? So Glimmerglass, I decided to get the 4x565 so that way I can use it on my matte box. And when you use it on a matte box, you don't have to unscrew the filter, change your lens out, put the filter back onto a new lens, right? You get rid of that process and you have it just in your matte box. Only the matte box you need to take off and put back on, right? So I got this guy. Pretty freaking expensive though. This was like 450 or 465 bucks. So very, very expensive. But when you get to this level of filtration, that's just the price you pay, right? But what is the difference between this guy and say like a black satin filter, right? So the main difference I have found with Glimmerglass is it tends to not warm up the image, specifically in the highlights. Whereas black satin, even though I love the filter and I'm using it right now on my Sigma 18 or 35, sometimes what it'll do is it'll kind of warm up the highlights, and you may not want that, right? So Glimmerglass does everything for the most part that black satin will do. It'll increase your contrast, right? So it'll raise your blacks. It'll soften the overall image, and then it'll help with blemishes, right? It'll help with creating more refined skin tones and textures, but it won't. And I'm sorry, it'll also suppress your highlights, right? So like, highlights are clipping, it'll try to suppress that information as much as possible. And then, but what it won't do is it won't warm up your highlights, right? So I love Glimmerglass. I suppose the obvious question now is, should you get Glimmerglass? That is up to you. I can't tell you what to buy, what to purchase. Everything as far as like lens diffusion goes, lenses, cameras, right? At the end of the day, it's all preference, right? So what is your preference? Do you want to have images that are less digital? Okay, then you should go for lens diffusion. If you want images where you can raise the contrast, that'll help you out in your color grading and in your color correction process, and also your exposure, right? Because that way you get more information in the blacks, then you probably want lens diffusion. If you want to, suppress highlights and soften skin tones and, create more pleasing skin tones in camera, not in post, then you should probably get lens diffusion. Which one to get? Hey man, that choice is yours. I personally like Glimmerglass, and I personally like black satin, but for the most part, I've been using more Glimmerglass. Because again, I do use matte boxes for all my productions, like 98% of the time, I'm using Cine Glass, so I prefer to use a matte box. For stuff like YouTube or like run and gun stuff where I can't use a matte box, then I use black satin, simply because I've been using it for so long and I already have like a 77mm and an 82mm black satin filter. But you might want to give Glimmerglass a shot. Hopefully you can have it in your budget, or maybe rent it or something like that, borrow it from a friend, and kind of see exactly what it does for your images. That is it for me today, friends. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up. Also leave a comment down below, because I want to get more engagement from you guys. I want to see what content you like, and also how I can help you get better at your craft based upon my own craft. Subscribe to my YouTube channel as always, just so you know if I have new content coming out. And remember, friends, every day you have an opportunity to create your experience and to write and tell your own story. My name is David Lee. I will catch you guys in the very next video.